So at the end of the first part of this video, we'd reached Newstead just outside Melrose in the Scottish borders. We stayed there for 5 nights before moving on to the East Lothian coast for another 5 nights. We stopped for a charge en route at a retail park just outside of Haddington. We used an Osprey charger, but there's no video of that as the rain was pouring down and we plugged the car in and made a quick run for the Costa Coffee. Now it's time to start the 400-mile journey back to Kent from this Airbnb, which is just outside of North Berwick. We're going to break it over 2 days. We're going to do 1/3 today, 2/3 tomorrow. That enables us to do some sightseeing today. Then we're going to stay overnight just outside of Darlington, and then tomorrow we can decide whether or not we stop anywhere on the way down, depending on how long it takes us to travel. So we've got about 66% of the battery. We're going to drive down to Eyemouth and have some coffee and a look around there. No need to charge there, it's about 30 miles away. And then we're going to move on from there down to a retail park just outside Alnwick, which I've probably massacred the pronunciation of. And we'll charge on an Osprey there, have some lunch. Then we'll see where we end up. So we made it to Eyemouth. We're parked in the seafront car park, which is labelled on Google Maps as Eyemouth Beach. We took the rather random route suggested by the mini sat-nav, which meant that it was 32 miles. We used 20% of the battery, so running at about 5.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So very good efficiency to start the day. So we're going to have a wander around Eyemouth. We've just had a coffee. We'll show you where we had the coffee a little bit later and give you a recommendation for that. Show you a few bits of Eyemouth, and then we'll be back on the road down to Alnwick. So if you want another reference point for the car park, it's on the high street by the co-op. However, whilst there is some charging in Eyemouth, it's in a different car park from the one that we're in. And here is Eyemouth Beach. So we've got some caravans up on the cliff top, and then promenade down the front, and then over this wall ahead of us, if I'm tall enough for us to be able to see, we have the beach. So stretching a long way left with some families on it. Brave families. It's maybe July, but it's not particularly warm today, and stretching around to the right as well. And apparently Eyemouth comes with seals. There's another one just coming across as well.
Very much a working harbour alongside the beach and the holiday makers. Just walking away from the harbour now towards the sort of shopping area. And lots of little restaurants and ice cream parlour. A few little back alleyways, back streets. Okay, so we just walked along from the harbour, and we found a car park that has EV charging in it. Charge place in Scotland, I think. They've recently been upgrading all of their terms and conditions with sort of max stays and things like that. But to be fair, they're all fast charging, rapid charging, and RFID cards very much required. You can never guarantee you're going to get a mobile signal for an app, but if you've got the RFID card linked to payment details, you can just tap and go. And as I said, from the 1st of May they've been implementing charging at a lot more of their locations. Used to be a lot of Chargeplay Scotland was free charging, but this seems to be about the right sort of amount at the moment, although I think it's going up to 40 pence per kilowatt hour fairly soon, as with the energy price rises all over the place. But this is handy, and we've got 2 spaces free, so, and it's fairly busy around the beach as well, so a good option if you need a quick charge.
Super. So there's Cafe Rialto where we stopped for our coffee and cake. Highly recommended. Colin said it was the best coffee that he's had whilst we've been in Scotland, and believe me, we've tried a few. Lots of lovely cake options as well.
Okay, that was our brief stop in Eyemouth. Back to the car. On to stage 2 of today's journey. We've got about 41 miles to go now, down to our rapid charge up in Alnwick. Fingers crossed. I think there's an Osprey there, and there's also an Ionity, so should be good for that. We're currently on 47% on the battery, so with the range that we're getting at the moment, comfortably 150 miles for full charge, so we've got about 70 miles left probably, and so just over 41 miles to cover, so should be good.
So we've made it to a very breezy Willowburn retail park just outside of Alnwick, still struggling with the pronunciation there, and we're plugged into an Osprey rapid charge point using up some Bonnet credit. There's 2 of them. When we first arrived, both of the CCS chargers were being used, but somebody was just finishing up, so he waved at us to let us know. We popped into the M&S food hall, which is just here. So that gives you a good viewpoint as to where you're looking to find the charger when you do get to the car park. Anyway, we popped into the M&S food hall to get a few bits for lunch, and by the time we came out he'd finished, so that worked perfectly. There's also a Turnbull's food hall the other side of those plants, and then in the far side of the car park there is a Starbucks with a drive-through. And then across the road, if you're going to be here for a while, there's a Homebase and a Sainsbury's, a Pets at Home and an Argos. So a few things to keep you occupied, although it's a rapid charger, so we pulled up with 18%. We're now in the sort of high 70s, going to head off when we get to 85% and make our way down to Durham.
Right, okay, next stop on the journey south is Durham, and we are at Prince Bishop's Place shopping centre, where there are some nicely identifiable pod points on level 1, all marked out nicely in green. You have to have some credit here on your pod point app to start things off, which is slightly different than just plugging in for a freebie in the supermarket. So we added £5 and we were good to go. And also you have to have paid parking here. You can have a couple of hours once you're actually in the car park to get some free charge. So we'll pay for 2 hours of parking, which is £2.10, and hopefully that'll get us somewhere up to 85-90%. We left Alnwick Osprey charger with 94%, and we are now at 58, so still going pretty good. 5 miles to the kilowatt hour, and as you can see, there's plenty of spaces free here.
So we've arrived at the Holiday Inn at Darlington North, just off of the A1. We left Durham with 86% and arrived here with 75%, a fairly short journey. So that's day one complete. Tomorrow we will be making our way home. So plans for the evening, whilst we're having dinner, is to pick a route.
Well, here we are, it's just after 8 o'clock, following day in the Holiday Inn. We had a good dinner, a bit limited, but still quite decent food last night. Same with breakfast. It very much is a sort of business place. There's a lot of people coming and going for work. There's a sort of lorry driver drop-off and pick-up point next door, which is obviously convenient for those guys, get in, get out. But there's a few facilities. There's a McDonald's and a jet garage and a Starbucks and everything. 5-minute walk away, less than that, just around the corner. And although this hotel has a charger, unfortunately it's broken. You can just about see it over by the that yellow umbrella just to the left there. It's a charge your car EV station with a big sticker on it saying this charger does not work. All is not lost though. Just down the road there's an Instavolt with 4 rapid chargers, so expensive but available if you need it. And actually it does look like the jet garage is installing a whole bank of chargers, not commissioned yet, covered up, but jet charging all over them. So that's quite encouraging here. We're heading off to an Osprey now, just outside of Doncaster.
So we've made it to the White Rose Retail Centre on the outskirts of Doncaster. We arrived with 19% battery, and the good news is that there's a Greggs here to get a coffee. The bad news is that there's no toilets, so something to bear in mind in part of your planning. We've found yet another Osprey charger. They've proved very reliable so far, although I will confess that we started off trying to charge on 222 and couldn't get it to work, so had to move to 223. But we may have just been being a little bit impatient, I think. I suspect that if we'd given it a bit longer, probably would have been fine. So as I said, arrived with 19%, had a coffee in Greggs, probably leave on 80 something, and then we're going to head down to either Peterborough or Cambridge. Well, not the cities, but some charging points, probably via a motorway service station for the toilet.
Right, well, we've just arrived at Cambridge services, having left Doncaster with 94%. We arrived here with 24% battery, having also had a brief stop off at the Blythe services for a bathroom break. There was some grid serve there if you were in need of a charge. So we've arrived here to Cambridge, and as you can see there's some Ionity charges there. There's also grid serve, I believe, a bit further down here, just in the distance. A little bit touchy with the mobile signal around here, so it's not the greatest location. Did take several attempts to confirm the charge, but we got there in the end, and we've just topped up to give us enough to get home, which was about 75% needed, because we've got about 70 miles left on the journey, so it gives us a little bit of contingency of about sort of 20% on the battery, hopefully, when we'll be plugging in at home. The last leg of the journey was pretty smooth, and we actually arrived home with about 30% of battery left, so better than I predicted at Cambridge services. Overall, this was a really, really positive experience. No issues with the public charging network, and we covered almost 900 miles and were able to get a charge pretty much whenever we needed it.